my name is Lana and I'm excited to share with you some simple natural remedies. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the edema wrap. And so an edema wrap is a form of hydrotherapy. Now what is hydrotherapy? Hydrotherapy is simply the use of water in therapy or water for healing. So this simple treatment that I'm talking about today, the edema wrap, is to help people who have swelling on their arms or their legs where there's fluid retention. And sometimes fluid retention can be there for different reasons. Even sitting at a desk for long periods of time, not moving around a lot. Sometimes people with cancer, they have lymphedema. One of the reasons people may have edema is because their lymph system isn't working very well for them. And sometimes a simple remedy for this can also be jumping on a rebounder, a small trampoline, and they just have to bounce just a little bit. It's not like jumping, but just lifting their feet up and down to get their calves and their ankles going up and down, so to get the pumping action for the lymph. But the remedy I'm going to talk to you today is going to assist nature in its effort to expel impurities from the system. So we're going to use a towel and salt water to draw those fluids out and to give relief to the person who's having a tightness and swelling from their edema. So when you're preparing to do a hydrotherapy or any form of therapy on anyone, make sure you gather your things, make sure the room is warm, make sure your hands are warm, make sure the person you're going to treat is warm. So if they're not warm prior to the treatment, just let them lay with some blankets, put a hot water bottle with them. You can do a warming foot bath, just slowly warm up the heat a little bit. Any way to just get them to a nice temperature before you start. So for the edema wrap, you're going to need a bucket, some Epsom salt, some garbage bags, an old shower curtain, whatever you have, towel, duct tape, and some pins. So when you have your bucket, you want to fill it with hot water. And so for a gallon of water, you would use 2.5 cups of Epsom salt. So make sure you add it to your water, stir it around, make it dissolve really well before you're soaking your towel. So this is just an introduction. I am going to show you a demonstration so you feel comfortable with doing it yourself. But before I do that, I just want to talk to you a little bit about when you're in the treatment room. Make sure that you are calm, that you're encouraging. Don't discuss diseases or their disease or spots they have or whatever it may be. Help them to feel relaxed and comfortable. Make sure that you move quickly but smoothly, not to cause them any anxiety. Again, before you do your treatment, make sure you've gathered your things. Make sure you pray with the person. Make sure you have a calm attitude, a cheerful attitude. Be efficient, be neat, and help them to feel comfortable. Keep them warm and free from draft, and always make sure that you're talking with them, and as far as getting feedback from them, is this too tight? Is this too hot? So that they are able to express to you without being afraid to tell you if they're feeling uncomfortable. So this was just an introduction. I want you to make sure you watch now the demonstration. So come with me and I'll show you how to do an edema wrap. Hi and welcome to our presentation on edema wrap. Today I'm going to be wrapping the leg, and sometimes you can have edema in your arm as well. So depending on what the problem is with the person, they may have swelling in their legs. Edema is basically a compromised lymphatic system, and you end up with pooling of fluid in the limbs. So one thing you can do to help that is you could, if you had a rebounder, you could take a little mini trampoline and just gently bounce just up and down, lifting your heels off and down, causing your lymphatic system to work for itself. The treatment we're doing today is basically to help nature to expel impurities from the system. So we're going to start by taking our 1 gallon of water and adding 2.5 cups of Epsom salt to it. So it's not an exact science. Don't get nervous when you do hydrotherapy. Ask God's blessing. Do what you know how to do. Use what you have and move forward. So we're going to add 2.5 cups. to about a gallon of water. And then we're going to make sure it dissolves nicely. Just going to set this down. Okay, move this as well so we have some room. So we're going to take and place this towel and soak it in our hot salt solution. So now that the salt is dissolved, I'm going to add my towel and let it soak up that salt water. So in preparation of this, I've already prepared the bed. I've protected the bed with plastic. You can use an old shower curtain, you could take a garbage bag, just a piece of plastic, whatever you have, that's what you can use to protect it. So I'm also going to place a plastic. Actually, this one I'm going to set over here for now. Another thing I want to talk to you about is when you're draping someone, when you are working with someone, make sure that you don't overexpose them. So make sure you protect them so that they don't feel uncomfortable while they're getting the treatment. So we're going to make sure that we have her all tucked in here. We're going to take this bag to protect the sheet as well, because I want her to rest with this afterwards. So again, I have a plastic underneath here as well to protect the bed. Okay. And this one is going to be the one I'm going to use to wrap her leg with once I have her Epsom salt towel in place. We've prepared the bed and her leg to be receiving this nice warm towel. Now we're going to take it out of this soaking water and we're going to wring it out. You want to still have some water in the towel, but you don't want it sopping wet. So this is another reason why, well, one of the reasons you want to protect the bed is from this alone, but also when it starts drawing the fluid, the towel has to be able to hold the fluid as well. So we're going to wrap her leg with a dry towel after we've placed the wet towel and completed wrapping it with the plastic so that it can also soak up any fluid that's being drawn as well, because it can leak. All right, so we're almost there. Okay, so you can see that the towel is quite damp. Now you want to have your water quite warm, but not so hot that she can't have it on her leg. All right. We're going to quickly wrap it around. When you work with someone, make sure that you are relaxed so that they don't feel anxious. You want to make sure that the person you're working with feels comfortable. So even though you're working to keep the heat in, you don't want to make them feel anxious because you're rushing. So if you feel like you need to secure this with a pin, you can use a safety pin and you can attach the towel. Sometimes if you do have a problem, then you can do that. But I like to just wrap it with the plastic. You want to make sure that you're not wrapping things too tight. Tucking it in nicely. Then we're going to take and we're going to actually secure this plastic bag in place with a little bit of tape. Now, I've done this treatment on a few people, and I just want to let you know ahead of time that sometimes people who have a lot of fluid retention, there can be a foul odor when you remove the towel. So, and you may need to repeat this, maybe 2 evenings or 3. The one lady in particular that I was working with, I did this treatment 3 days in a row, and she had quite a large amount of fluid. I wrapped both legs every evening for 3 days, and the first 2 evenings, the smell from the towels was very strong. It was actually even a urine smell. So don't be surprised or concerned. I mean, it does mean that the body is sick, but you're helping to rid the body of toxins. So you can praise the Lord that you're getting those fluids out for them. All right, so now that I have this securely in place, I'm going to take a dry towel and I'm going to wrap her limb with this now as well. So when you do an edema wrap, you want to make sure that the person rests for 3 to 4 hours. I don't even like to say 3 hours most of the time because I want them to go as long as they can. Even overnight. I usually like to do this treatment in the evening so that they can sleep with it. If they do have to get up in the evening to go to the washroom, then they have to remove their whole package off their legs. So make sure you prepare before you put it on, that they go to the washroom. So then maybe they'll get there 3-4 hours before they wake in the night. And if they have to remove it, that's fine. Just remove it then, and you can put another one on the next day, the next evening even. It looks quite bagged up here, but I can assure you this is a fantastic treatment. I've done it on people who have lymphedema in their arm. So from cancer, they had their breast removed and some lymph nodes, and they had some edema in their arms. So when this person was not so sure about it working, so they allowed me to wrap it, but then they didn't really leave it on as long as it should have been, and they walked around and did work outside while their limb was wrapped, and I think it was just under 3 hours they took it off. But praise the Lord, it had already done a lot of work, and so it demonstrated to them that simple remedies do help. So that person then called me a few days later and asked again how much salt and what do I do, and they wrapped their arm and rested according to how it should be done, and it brought them great relief. So once we have it wrapped, I'm just going to leave this plastic as well. So remember to prepare the bed, have it protected. You want to have some kind of protection on the bed too that doesn't crinkle if they're trying to sleep, because sometimes you can get a shower curtain and every time they move it makes a lot of noise and then they can't sleep, even with a garbage bag. So all right, so what she would do now is rest overnight, and then in the morning just remove the towel, wash the limb, and you're good to go. So make sure that the person is comfortable, that it's not too tight. Does anything feel too tight? All right. And you always make sure you're asking the person you're working with, are you comfortable? Is it binding anywhere? To make sure that there's no restriction through the evening for them. It's very important to start a treatment warm, because sometimes you can shock the system and you don't want to do that. So you want to make sure if their feet are not warm, put some nice socks on them for a little while, put a hot water bottle to their feet, give them a little hot foot bath, something to just bring up their body temperature a little bit. Not that it has to be that they have to be really hot, but just when not cold to the touch and that they don't feel chilled. So this is going to do its work, and the person who has edema will find great relief. So I hope you enjoyed this demonstration. I hope it gives you courage to try it at home. Don't be afraid to try these things, especially this edema wrap. There is no contraindications for this wrap. So, I mean, you put it on there and it can't hurt the person. So I hope that this was able to encourage you, and I will see you next time for another demonstration.